we're building 3 networks. Number 1, public safety data network. Obama, and working with the chief, interacting with the new chief technology officer of the country, Anish Chopra, is looking for help in defining what a public safety data network is and blah, blah, blah. So obviously our police people are involved. I get involved in these working groups in DC, and it's maybe only 2 local government guys, a mayor and me, and the rest were techies and feds around the table. See, we put our money where our mouth is, okay? We bought a network with the following strategy. 1, filed for a waiver, I'm still waiting to hear, and what I intend to build is a 700 megahertz LTE public safety data network. And my vision for Digital Philadelphia is about the city being a sandbox. So when Google Fiber was coming to town, we're still waiting to hear, and I'm trying to attract, investment, and we're talking about the future. I want everybody to think of Philadelphia, city of first, birthplace of this nation, 92 colleges and universities within a 2-hour distance. We should be the next Silicon Valley. It's our turn, okay? We got Comcast right down the street, just bought NBC. Don't tell me we don't have an opportunity to be a content king. We have an incredible opportunity to create a set of technology ecosystems across the city. So while we're doing all this wireless stuff, we're talking this stuff too, okay? So what we end up with is a wireless network for public safety, and we intend to work with some area universities and other grant bodies as we're going to the feds really to be the sandbox, to use us, because we have an incredible sandbox to really play, to talk about what do we mean. By the way, public safety data network no longer is about just policing. The public safety data network requirements, that were just defined in August through these White House sessions with police chiefs, include video, health and telemedicine. Now we're talking about all kinds of communication for any kind of an emergency. Not just traditional, but also health and other things. So in the end, we bought the network. Our plan is 700. The second piece, though, is mobility for our workforce. So obviously today we're 802.11g. And our intent will be in the short term is we just took over the network, so we're inventorying things. We have to put our own guts in on the front end, security, but we're going to start prototyping and sandboxing. But what we're going to do is all of our computers are, have wireless, and we have all these applications going on now across the city for mobility, standard handheld stuff. Our police force alone uses right now EVDO cards. Verizon EVDO cards, we probably spend $1 million a year on. So again, we're going to move towards experimenting that way. What my hope is, my strong belief, and I'm more of a software guy than a network guy, but I really do believe totally that the 700 megahertz LTE is a game changer, and that it really, what you read in the press and you say super Wi-Fi, absolutely. Guess what the incremental cost, once you've built this all out for all these real municipal purposes, so now let's get back to free internet. My incremental cost is $92,000 a year. Why? Because the entire network and infrastructure was built for other things, for municipal use. So what's our policy going to be now on free internet? And I've been working with and being honest with the other providers. We reserve the right, what I believe, first of all, is, like I said, we're not in the ISP business, but I need to provide internet at the edges of city assets. Rec centers, libraries. Part of the broadband stimulus and the reason we won the second time around is that I didn't ask for $1 zillion to go buy the network. What I focused on was the following. We got $6.4 million to build this novel set of computer labs. And we were going to leverage the wireless network that I acquired. And what we're going to do is we're putting in, as we speak, 819 computers in rec centers and community centers across the city. And I get to light up select rec centers and community centers with a little radio sitting on top with free internet. if you just learn the lessons learned from Katrina's or 9/11 or whatever, and that is decentralized command and control. And so the other thing I'm trying to create here, which, you know, you could call it VPN, you could call it any number of things, but the ability for the government to function in time of an emergency when they're not here. You know, now that gets back to multiple, you know, modalities of how you communicate and things like that. You know, we've had a really interesting conversation. You know, some of the questions that you've asked and, you know, obviously got me off on a, you know, a very passionate discourse on what's going on. But I guess I want to end with something I was talking about at the very beginning, which is the reason I came to government. And that the tremendous opportunity that I saw, continue to see, that technology in today's world is a real game changer and enabler, and you can't have cities with and without technology anymore. And so I really just want to close with that whole thought about digital Philadelphia, which is really more of a big question mark than an answer. But what's really interesting, because Philly was so early in the municipal broadband thing, I think you learn more from adversity than you do from success. And I think what we really learned is that you've really got to focus, you know, particularly as we talk about municipal wireless and things like that, on what it is that the government does, which is public safety and serving our citizens. But at the same time, a city isn't the government. That's one piece of it. And so what I'm seeing is an exciting time here, which we would really like to be, as I said, the sandbox for innovation around urban centers, of how does the government technology connect with institutions, that connects with businesses. Because, you know, for instance, when Google came out with that whole Google Fiber contest, why did they really do it? It wasn't to try to get into the business against Comcast or Verizon. They were really doing not just marketing, but they were putting a question on the table. At the same time, we were running at 750 kilobits, and our Verizons and Comcast and all the providers of the world are providing 1 to 6 megabits per second. And that is, if everybody had 1 gigabit, if you had full democratization of speed, how would that change the world? It's a question mark. And as you start to ask that question, you see that you're talking not just about fiber, you're talking about wired, wireless, you're talking about actually saying, if we were all that fast, what could I do?